So working on the Cadillac on the 864, and last time around I replaced the ECM, got it in. I was replacing the idle speed control motor, and then I went to do idle speed control motor adjustment, and I really can't because the engine's not running well enough. When it gets set out at the higher throttle settings, it's just not running right, it's misfiring. I suppose there's always the chance that the new ECM could be in trouble, but I've gone through the dash, the onboard diagnostic, and looked at all the sensors. They appear to be reading correctly. And this engine's been, I'm going to call it intermittent. Before I replaced the ECM, I tried to take this car out around on the road, around the block, and the problem initially was that it was stalling. One, it was stalling. Two, it didn't have any power really when you tipped into it. And then the idle speed went high as the motor and the ECM appeared to fail. The first thing is, I'm not sure, this car's been sitting, hasn't been on the road in at least 5 years, probably a little longer. I don't know how long it's been since the ignition was serviced. I have a full set of ignition components. Spark plug wires, distributor cap, rotor, ignition module, a set of plugs, and an ignition coil. As long as I've got this all apart and I'm putting a cap in it. When you put a cap in it on these cars, you need to swap the coil over. I could have a bad coil too. I just went through one of those on my boat. It's a few years old, and all of a sudden the coil starts getting intermittent. So I picked these the United wires because they make them with the original Packard wire configuration. I used these also on my 85 Camaro because they appeared to be the closest to original equipment that I could get, and frankly the original equipment wires were pretty good. I ordered all this stuff through Rock Auto because for the most part you can't walk into every store and just buy everything these days because this car's old enough that stuff isn't in stock. One of my challenges, I'm going to start with the distributors up front here. I'm going to start with the cap, rotor, coil, take all the ignition wires off of it, do all the changeover. The spark plug wires and the spark plugs on the driver's side don't look too bad. That side's pretty wide open. This side over here, with the air pump plumbing in the way, and then the air conditioning, that's going to be really tough to get into. And I'll probably find a way, but I'm going to leave that till later. And like I say, we'll see how far we get today. I may have to remove some of this air pump hardware just so I can get my hands in there to get down to the plugs. And my suspicion is, things haven't been replaced in a long time. These wires, they say they're Packard Delcor. They almost look like original factory wires. Now, they could have been replaced one time, but I guess we shall see. So first off, there's a vacuum pump here, and this vacuum pump hose goes right over the top of everything. So I'm going to tuck that down out of the way for right now. Disconnect it. The valve connection is right here, so I can pop that back on later. So even one of the spark plug wires goes right around it. This part's always a little challenging because you don't want to mix up the plug wires and get them in the wrong place. So what I will usually do is get the new cap here side by side and try to transfer the wires over. The only question today will be, do I have enough slack in the wires to actually do that, or will I have to organize things another way? This cap is held on with 4¼ inch bolts, and sometimes getting to them is a challenge because the plug wires will get in the way. But we'll start there. Of course we will, and I'll drop it right on the floor. See if I can get these guys off of here. The nice thing in this engine is that the distributor is up front, so I can actually reach them. So I got the cap off. It doesn't look real, I mean, it's not horrible inside, but it looks like it's old. It doesn't look like it's been touched in a long time. There's the rotor. It's just kind of dirty in the middle, and again, the contacts, it just looks old, and it might be fine. You gotta take these two bolts out to get the rotor off. The ignition module is there, and once I get the rotor off, I'll get a better look at it. So let's see what we got underneath here. Okay, and if I look at the bottom of it, it has some deposits on it. One of the things you tend to want to look for on these is carbon tracks, black lines where it could be arcing to the metal parts in the center. I don't see any, but we'll work on it from there. It would be kind of nice if this was turned. I may have to bump the engine over so I've got a good clearance. The one thing I didn't get is there is a condenser, there's what they call it, a radio capacitor down here in the corner that connects to the opposite side of the module here. And it's always possible for that to go bad, but I'm not expecting that at the moment. And I don't want to disturb these screws right at the moment. That's part of the pickup, the magnetic pickup that triggers the ignition. And I considered the possibility of wanting to replace that. I'm not going to do that unless I have good indication that I need to, because you have to pull the entire distributor out of the engine, and because you have to take the shaft out to be able to replace it. I've done it. I did it on the Camaro, but it's more involved, and if I don't have a reason to think that's bad, I'm going to leave it alone for now. I'm going to see if I can remove the module without cranking the engine over. It may have enough clearance to sneak out of there. It's not that big a part. So first off, we need to get the wires loose. Retainer on it. Ah, shh. These, I tried to be very, very careful. I was trying to just barely lift it so I could get it across, and it broke. So, well, step one is I'm going to take this one off, and then for now I will put it back on without the retainer and see if and then I'll have to find a new pigtail. I've run into that on this engine where it's had some heat and the plastic is so brittle that as soon as you flex it, it comes apart. Well, I'm going to start here, and perhaps maybe I can find a wire at a local shop. But one of the other things you want to make, kind of to check at is, does the magnetic pickup still have magnetism? And I can sure feel it with my screwdriver. This one I need to take the screw out. And I don't want to lose that screw down inside the distributor. So we'll take that out, set it up high. Now, the modules are different depending on the engine, whether you have electronic spark, there are all kinds of things. So you got to make sure you have the right module when you do one of these. Now then, let's let's see if I can sneak that one out of there now. And it has its own, a separate wiring harness that comes out. And so what I want to do is just like that, is sneak that out and separate this. Looks okay otherwise. But that's an original General Motors module. So first off, you kind of want to check and make sure the modules look the same. This is my new, see this one for this car is a Standard Motor Parts LX315. That's the warranty slip, says it's got a 5-year 50,000 warranty on it. You want to make sure you wipe off the old gunk here because it has heatsink compound. You just kind of wipe it down. There actually isn't a lot of heatsink compound there. I'm kind of surprised. But a couple things. First off, you want to make sure that the modules match, right? That they've got the same number of terminals on them, like these do. The bottom of it is metal. That's a heatsink. These things get hot in use, and yep, the terminals match, the letters match. Looks pretty darn good. I mean, the old one might be fine, but after 40 years, anything's possible. In the package, they give you a packet of heatsink grease, and they want you to smear a little bit on there. And let's see if I can. Yep, there it goes. Yeah, good. All right, so we'll put some of that on there and kind of smear it around. I mean, once you get the module sitting on there, it's going to spread it out even further. So we start there. But without this, the new module will burn right up. I mean, it'll run for a while probably, but it'll shorten its life a lot. All right, so then we pop that one back together. And, all right, so we'll slide that back in, and then there's that connector has to drop in a hole there, like so. That looks good. That looks okay. I'll get the screws back in it. So then this one can go back on first. This one can go on second. As I said, I hate running this without the clip, so there's a reason the clip is there. I mean, these wires go on pretty snug, but make sure it's on tight. Okay. But that pigtail goes all the way down, bolts on here, and then comes out, and it's a 4-pin connector. So I'm gonna bet the local parts store doesn't have one, so I'll make a note, see if I can find one. Need to get this guy back in its hole. I guess it really can't fall down inside too much because there aren't any holes at the bottom here, but I just hate dropping parts. How we doing? There is a lip in the distributor that holds that bracket where it belongs. These extra terminals are for the electronic spark timing. So here's the new rotor. And that one I managed to get an official AC Delco. I tend toward original parts if I can. Just sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Now when you do the rotor, see there's a notch here on the edge of it, on one side and not the other. You have to make sure it goes on the right way. And there's a post down here at the bottom. So, and then this one has Phillips head screws instead. Either way is fine. It's like normal. Be careful you don't cross thread things. Make sure it seats down right, or you'll break it. And I always try to bring them down a little, each side a little at a time. Just to, again, you want to make sure that it's properly seated on there. Okay, feels good, looks good. Now I'm going to switch over and work on the distributor cap. I'm going to load the new coil in the new cap separately. Before I go back and work on the new cap, I just set the old one back on top here, just loosely. I'm going to transfer this cap to the new distributor cap, this cover. So I want to take this one off and take it with me. And I kind of want to check, again, don't drop the screws. See if I can sneak that out of there, again, without breaking it. Okay, so that cover is just a cover. That's all it does, is it's a cap. It holds terminals in place here. And I just kind of wanted to see, because the coil has, this coil has a ground connection wire coming out of the coil going to the screw on this corner, and then it has metal brackets around it, and you have to make sure things are grounded right or it'll damage or destroy the coil. And so it's like you have to get that to the screw, and then there's a second metal piece that completes the ground. Alright, so to put the cap and the coil together, the new coil has a very clearly marked ground wire we need to put together, and there's this ground terminal which we need to install. And then the other interesting thing, I'm going to have to do some bending, which surprises me a little, but these wires right here, these are supposed to be a right angle when they go in the slot, so we'll have to tweak those a little bit. But I'm going to start assembling the cap. So along with the distributor cap, it comes with a new center button that goes down here in the hole, button and a spring. And then it has a new rubber disc. That new rubber disc just sits down in the bottom here underneath the coil, and and sits on this surface of the coil, and then that metal terminal on the bottom of the coil picks up that spring, and that's how you get spark into the center of the cap to get to the rotor. So this is the little metal ground terminal that we need to put in, and it goes in the center and goes up here to this corner screw. Seems a little odd, but it's designed to go in there. I'm going to take this caution tag off. There is a nice instruction sheet warning you about this and making sure that you make sure you do it right. And then the coil, drops in like so. And along with the coil, it comes with its own rubber button in case you needed one. Rubber pad, I'll call it. I don't know. And they give you 4 screws for the coil. And I don't think it matters which side you put this on. The factory had it over here, so I don't know. It's either that or over here. So we'll put that screw in there. And what the heck? Follow tradition. Put that one over there. Alright, so we can run these screws down. Just want to make sure that this one stays inside so that the cap will go on it. And I'll go across the opposite corner just on principle. Uh-oh. That didn't feel good. I think it took the threads out. Ah. It did take the threads out. Oh, what a pain. That's ridiculous. I hadn't reefed on that hardly at all yet. Well, I'm going to try something here. I took one of the screws out of the other cap. Let's see if it has any better bite. Sometimes the difference in threads will make a difference. Oh, that worked. Good. Wonder what the difference is. Well, the difference is that the new screws are shorter than the old screws by a bunch. That's kind of disappointing. So this one had that metal terminal underneath, so I don't know, it didn't get as good a bite. But the other ones are holding. I'm half tempted to take them out and start over with the longer ones, but if they bite and hold, I think I'm okay. Now I'm going to spend a couple minutes and try to bend these, because the red one needs to go in here and it's not going to go, and the yellow one needs to go on the other side, and same thing. Back in a bit. So what I found was that I actually could bend them with my fingers pretty easily, and I've got them all in there. So the red wire goes on that side, the yellow on this side, according to the instruction sheet, and you end up with the terminals looking like that. And you can see the terminals in the bottom here. So all those pieces that you put in from the top make connections with the plugs. And then I think I left the screws up under hood, but then this cap goes on. It's supposed to sit down just like that. We put a couple screws in it, and then the connectors will go on here. The cap comes with new screws that we put down in. I'll get loaded in here, and we'll go install that guy. I decided to do one more thing before I button this up, so I took the rotor back off. I'm going to sneak this connector off again, because as long as I have things apart, there is a test to run on the pickup coil, and I just kind of want to make sure that the pickup coil measures good before I get too far down the road. So we'll put this on resistance. Well, that's the pickup coil wire, and the first one is to put a probe on it and go to ground. Oh, come on, something ain't right here. Oh, it's on volts. Duh. Silly me. 2,000 ohms is good. Okay. Well, I'm going to go to max. This one, the first test is pick up one or the other of the terminals, it really doesn't matter, and go to the housing, go to ground, and make sure that it's wide open. And it is. Okay. And then we can drop it down to 2,000, and the resistance from one side to the other is supposed to be between 500 and 1,500. It comes in at 790, which is right smack in the middle of that, right? Okay, so that's good. Now I can put the wires back, put the rotor back on, and drop on the new cap. All right, let's drop the distributor cap on. Drop being not really the right term, but let's install it. There we go. It should sort of drop in place. And then I can go around and tighten the 4 screws. Alright, got the cap installed. The bolts are all tightened. It looks like it's good. Now I'm going to start transferring the spark plug wires over. And I know I'm probably going to get to this point where, I'm going to have to go around the engine and replace wires one at a time is my guess. But I don't want to mess them up on the cap. I mean, there's a school of thought that says you take the cap and the wires all off at once and set them out on the floor and replace the wires one at a time there. But you still run the risk of getting things out of firing order. So this is going to be my choice for the day. We'll see how it works. Getting them loose may be a bear. You got to turn them, yank on them, work them until they come off. There's one, and this is the first one. On this side, below the cap, below the what do I want to call it? Below this bolt. This is the first one. Actually, kind of looks like it's the first one on this side. Anyway, back later. Alright, got all the wires switched over. Now normally I'd put some silicone grease on these, but I am going to change them, so for the moment I just popped them on as they were. Now I got 2 connections to make, because I took these off of the old one. And one is the hot wire that goes to the front, and over here on the cover it says battery, and it says, or bat and tack. This is the bat wire, and it can only go in one way because it's got a tab, but still. And then the second one is this one that's got 3 terminals on it that also goes in the bottom, and it also has a slot so it can only go one way. So first off, it's hard to see that, but But we pop that guy on, and then we put the battery on. The battery is the switched feed from the ignition switch that there snaps on. Looks good, like so. And I think I said this before, but you know, if you go through most of the early 80s and even the late 70s GM high energy ignition distributors, they all go together like this, except for some of the variations in how many pins are on the module. But this is the basic. I mean, high energy ignition started in 1974, 74, 75. I want to say 74, and then 75 was catalysts. So they were getting things, they were moving in the direction that you needed better than ignition points or you were going to smoke your catalyst. So that does that. Before I start working with spark plug wires and spark plugs and trying to dig into that, I want to test run this thing and see if we made any significant progress. Alright, let's see if we can make it fire. Well, it's still running a little rough, and it's still running, I'm going to say, toward the rich side of things. In any case, it runs, so my work was not in vain, and it does seem like it's running a little bit better. So plugs and wires are next. Well, now I got the distributor serviced. It's still not running quite right, so I need to keep going and doing the spark plugs and wires, and maybe I'll need to dig into some more. It could be fuel system too, but now I'm confident that the distributor's in good shape, and continue work. Well, I've replaced the plugs and I've replaced the wires. Here, this is the old wires, and they're pretty stiff, and some places the jackets have abrasions and things that don't make them so good. But the spark plugs, woohoo! I mean, that one, they're wet fouled, but they're also carbon fouled. Many of them are carbon fouled. So I still have this feeling like it's running rich, yet a single fouled spark plug will often cause the computer heartburn. So anyway, those plugs, you look at the coloration on them, those plugs have been in there a long time. And this one was like number 1, and so it's got anti-seize on it, so somebody's been in there at some point not too far back, although anti-seize will last a long time. But these two are absolute devils to get because they're back behind the air conditioning box. In order to get those two down in the back, you can see there's one down there and one way back in the back. I had to remove this hose from the manifolds for the air pump system, and there's a bracket underneath, but I was able to take off 2 bolts and move this and just scoot it enough so that I could get my arm underneath to reach all the way back to that last plug. Very challenging. I did the hard ones first, and then I went across to the other side and did the easier ones, got them all restacked, got them all put into the cap. I do the wires one wire at a time, so I would change a plug, change the wire. So let's see how it runs. Let's see if it starts. Let's see how she does. All right, well, fresh ignition system, clean plugs. She's still loping like she's running rich. So I got more to dig into. Well, I got the ignition system all done. Got fresh plugs in it, which it needed badly, fresh wires, and it still acts like it's rich. So I scratched my head, digging a little more. Before I dug in too far, I wanted to make sure the ignition was good. I think it is now. I don't have to worry about that, but now I have to dig into the next level. You know, ECM was replaced. It should be good. The problems went over. You know, may have to look at the throttle body, but I don't know what would cause it. I don't yet know what would cause it to be rich. So it probably means going back and looking at all the sensors, because something's out of whack. In any case, I guess that's all for now.